clean the house before we get started. For those who are rocking with me from day one, I appreciate the support. For those who may be new here, coming in out the door, for your boy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, get it cracking in the comments, hit that notification bell. Every bit of your engagement absolutely helps promote me into the YouTube algorithm. I thank y'all for the support. Now, before we get started, this video is one full of contention. A lot of people are trying to interpret what DEANTE Cal said. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play it in its entirety, come back, transform the content, splice my commentary throughout, because I want everyone to actually hear exactly what he said with no interpretation. So without any further ado, drop the video. Let's go.
You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well. Because I don't got time to figure out which white people are nice, which white people aren't racist, or da-da-da-da-da. I have to go on the actions of the group.
Right.
The group as a whole and the history of that group as a whole tells me that they are a danger to me and they are not to be trusted.
Right.
And if you can understand that as a black man and your stance towards white people, then you should absolutely be able to understand women's stance towards you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a war on you waged by women. Actually, the war get a little thicker when we start talking about it from the perspective of a woman and the greater society of racism and white supremacy being waged against black people, and then the patriarchal society being waged against women. So they have to deal with two elements. One of those elements we don't have to think about, and honestly, we're perpetuated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's perpetuated against us young to look at women as objects,
Right.
you know, to look at women only through the lens of a sexual desire and not as the human being that they are. And when you understand how to deal with women on a human level, you understand how much women will enrich your life.
Amen. Amen.
You want to turn it up a notch?
Yeah.
Get you a good woman and get you a good black woman in your corner.
Amen.
Hey, man, you want to see your life turn up?
Hey.
And see, this is the thing, though. It's a privilege, bro. It's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? We often disregard the power of our black women, the spiritual essence that they're gonna bring to things, the knowing, the seeing. You know what I'm saying? Also, too, imagine it. They have to be hyper vigilant because they have to be constantly scanning the room, making sure that they're in a safe situation.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? When we think about these kids who were clearly in Louisiana having the time of their fucking life because they graduated, and we think about white people's reaction to Black joy.
Oh yeah, that's
it's not about civility. It's not about decorum. They don't like to see us happy.
That's what it is.
Now, how often are women just having a good time, and here come a nigga trying to ruin their fun?
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. You can call it pandering, but if I was up here caping for white women, you wouldn't even mention that word. If I was up here caping for Hispanic women, you wouldn't even call it pandering. Only when we take pride and show love to black women do you call it pandering. Get your motherfucking mind right. You're Jacabesa.
Let's go back and start dissecting what he's saying. So we're going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to run it back with my commentary from this point. Let's go.
You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well. Because
I'm going to be honest. I'm not familiar with DEANTE Cal's content. This is the first time I ever came across it because it's viral right now. A lot of people say he's an intellectual and he rarely misses. However, on this particular one, I can say he missed a lot. First, he started with a vast generalization, which I am never in favor of. Even when I produce my content, I add caveats. I'll say women on social media, modern women on social media. I add these caveats because I don't want to group in women who I can see or who I see as an ally, who I may not be producing my content for, right? Who I'm not actually trying to trigger. These are women who I actually want to bring in to the sphere of my content. So I'm very careful to make those distinctions. However, when you say the vast majority of black men, because that's what he's talking about, when they have interactions with black women from a perspective of dating, the approach that they don't handle rejection well. What study signifies the validity of this claim, other than anecdotal prattle? See, this is why, and no shade to him, like I said, I don't know this guy. This is why I say you have to be careful with pseudo-intellectualism. Because if he was such an intellectual, he would know this isn't a proper way to debate. This isn't a proper way to present an argument. Your argument has to be based in something tangible that can be researched, peer-reviewed primarily. You just can't say the vast majority of black men who interact with black women from the approach perspective cannot handle rejection. And if they can't handle rejection, what happens? Do they just walk away? They call them a couple of names? Because I am trying to figure out what is it that he's trying to accomplish with this dialogue. But let's keep going. Let's see.
I don't got time to figure out which white people are nice, which white people aren't racist, or da-da-da-da-da. I have to go on the actions of the group.
Right.
The group as a whole and the history of that group as a whole tells me that they are a danger to me and they are not to be trusted.
Right.
And if you can understand that as a black man and your stance towards white people, then you should absolutely be able to understand women's stance towards you.
And see, I'm going to stop it right there because I don't understand that perspective. You're basically saying that you see all white people as racist because you can't make distinctions between the ones who are not. Sir, that's called bigotry. Yes, that's bigotry in its purest form. It's prejudice and it's racist. And I'm not saying he's a racist, but it has tangents of racism shrouded all over it. When you say something like that and you feign to be an intellectual from what people say, you know, saying that doesn't make sense. You've already done a disservice to the debate. You're saying a vast generalization is acceptable when it's a group of people who you don't agree with something they do. You're saying it's okay to group them all together. Don't get me wrong. America has a sordid history with racism and slavery. I get it. But as a black man, just like you, who come from a mixed background, my parents are not biracial, but my grandmother, quite frankly, was, and my great-grandfather was white, just like I believe you have those type of people in your family tree. You can't believe this. You can't believe this, and I refuse you believe this, because if that's exactly your stance, then you have to start with your own family, sir. You do. And this is why your point is full of contention, because your own family doesn't state what you believe on this particular post, that you can't discern between good white people and bad ones. You're full of shit. Let's keep going. Full of shit.
It's not a war on you waged by women. Actually, the war get a little thicker when we start talking about it from the perspective of a woman and the greater society of racism and white supremacy being waged against black people, and then the patriarchal society being waged against women. So they have to deal with two elements. One of those elements we don't have to think about, and honestly, we're perpetuated.
I get it now. I get it. So he's a pseudo pro-black and a feminist. Got it. Fantastic combination. I see where he's coming from now. I actually get or gauge exactly his pathology with this. He's a pseudo pro-black mixed in with feminism and misandry. Fantastic. I'm not sure if this guy's an intellectual now. And I'm just being honest with you. This guy seems very emotional. And I'm not saying he's emotional as far as he, aggressive and violent. I'm saying he's emotional because this didn't come from a logical, pragmatic place. This came from emotion and anecdotal experiences from women he may know. It doesn't make sense. This, and I'm not being funny here. This is pseudo-intellectualism at its finest. It's also a circular argument because he started off with a premise that he already stated to be true because he said it's true. The vast majority of men can't handle rejection. What's the evidence for that? So it's a logical fallacy. He started off with a premise saying it's true because he said so. Trust me, bro. Not buying his intellectualism right now. Don't see it.
And it's perpetuated against us young to look at women as objects.
Right.
To look at women only through the lens of a sexual desire and not as the human being that they are.
Who taught you that? Where's your father? Did your father teach you that? See, this is the problem when you have anecdotal experiences and you present them as facts. Now, I have to get personal. Did your father teach you that? Because my father didn't teach me that. My family didn't teach me that. I'm raised around a whole bunch of women. I was never told that women are sex objects. Never once. Never once was told by any male cousin, uncles, or anyone to look at women as sex objects. I wasn't raised that way. So my question would be, why were you? See, now I have to get personal.
And when you understand how to deal with women on a human level, you understand how much women will enrich your life.
Amen.
Depends on a woman. Not all women are equipped to enrich your life. Some women are rife with dysfunction, just like some men. This premise is what I call the deity complex. This is the deification of black women, that they come inherently perfect and good, and they automatically can enrich your life simply because they're black women. What nonsense. What utter nonsense. And this is the guy y'all feign is an intellectual? Haven't seen it.
Amen.
You want to turn it up a notch?
Yeah.
Get you a good woman and get you a good black woman in your corner.
Amen.
Hey, man, you want to see your life turn up?
Hey.
And see, this is the thing, though. It's a privilege, bro. It's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? We often disregard the power of our black women. The spiritual essence that they're gonna bring to things, the knowing, the seeing. You know what I'm saying? Also, too, imagine it. They have to be hyper vigilant because they have to be constantly scanning the room, making sure that they're in a safe situation.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
No, they don't. You got women going outside half naked. What are they scanning for other than attention? See, I got a video coming where it's about women in their inappropriate attire. You can't tell me in one breath that women have to be vigilant, hyper vigilant, looking around, scanning their environments because they're looking for safe places and safety, when the vast majority of them 3 weeks ago, they were literally arguing to be half naked in the gym. Just 3 weeks ago, they were all over social media with their torches and pitchforks, screaming bloody murder because they want to go to the gym half naked. And you want to tell me these are the people who are so concerned with their safety that everywhere they go, they're looking over their shoulders, they're peeping around corners, their mind is playing tricks on them. Yeah, sure. All right.
Saying, when we think about these kids who were clearly in Louisiana having the time of their fucking life because they graduated, and we think about white people's reaction to Black joy.
Oh yeah, that's
it's not about civility. It's not about decorum. They don't like to see us happy.
That's what it is.
Now, how often are women just having a good time, and here come a nigga trying to ruin their fun?
Yeah.
Again, anecdotal prattle from a guy that a lot of you say is an intellectual. You can't present anecdotal evidence as fact. Some women may experience that, sure. Can you say the vast majority of women experience that without doing a scientific poll? No, you can't. I know a lot of guys were saying he was pandering. I'm not going to call him a panderer. I'm just going to call him an opportunist. I think this guy saw an opening to get a lot of engagement, to go viral, and to maybe bring a lot of new female followers to his platform. I'm just going to call him a good old-fashioned opportunist because I ain't buying any of this prattle.
Let's just be honest. You can call it pandering, but if I was up here caping for white women, you wouldn't even mention that word. If I was up here caping for Hispanic women, you wouldn't even call it pandering. Only when we take pride and show love to Black women do you call it pandering. Get your motherfucking mind right. Use your cabeza.
Let me say this before I go to the next one. I want to know which one of his parents is actually white, because to me this is quite laughable. If this guy actually does have a white parent, it's always those ones, right? The ones that are mixed up, biracials, who are always for the Black the most. But when you go to their family tree, it's cluttered literally with white people sprinkled all over it. I have one question for you, sir. If in fact you have a white parent, if you have any white lineage in your background, what do they say about your take on racism? That's the only question I would ask. What do they say about your takes?
I have to say, it's pretty disheartening watching so many people, particularly men, not all men, but a lot of men, deliberately misunderstand what Deante Cowell is trying to say. Deliberately getting caught up in the literal definitions of words, not acknowledging the cultural nuances and not acknowledging the larger message, which is when you as an individual see something, you should say something, especially when it is men within your inner circle. If you see them projecting and doing abusive behavior, if you see them talking really negative and offensive about women, particularly women who look like you, if you see them mistreat children, you should speak up. How is that so asinine of an idea? Also, for clarification, I don't think he was telling you to walk up to random men and hold them accountable on the street, which is pretty ironic that that's the sticking point for many men, considering y'all were the same men that told women that we had nothing to fear if we encountered a random man in the woods. But it sounds like you too would choose the bear because you are also afraid of holding other men accountable, or at least saying something to men that might cause some sort of reaction from them. But to get back to Deante's point, if we are going to truly demand liberation for Black people, we have to also seek and demand liberation for Black people within our community. And that means holding each other accountable when we see people doing harm to people who look like us, to women, children, to other men. If it is bad behavior, call it out. And especially you should feel empowered to do so when it's men within your own inner circle. If you can't hold your friend accountable, should you even be on the internet trying to hold anybody else accountable?
Ma'am, that's not what he said. I played the entirety of what he said. Not once did he say, hold men accountable in your inner circle. That's not what he said. That's your interpretation. You know why that's your interpretation? Because you don't like what it says. When men call you out for this vast generalization, you had to find it out. Words matter. He said men are accountable for the vast majority of bad interactions that Black women have with men when they're trying to talk to them for a dating scenario. Those were his words. Those were his words. You can try to manipulate the truth as much as you want. And it's funny to me that above your head it says, Black liberation requires accountability. Not everyone is a pseudo pro-Black. Not everyone believes that Black people are oppressed to the point where they need liberation. We had the Civil Rights Movement, man. We got the 1964 and 1965 subsequent Civil Rights Acts, right? I'm not saying that systematic oppression isn't a thing, but let's be honest here. This Black liberation stuff is nothing but pseudo pro-Blackness, and a lot of y'all are new to this stuff. Like, where were y'all when I was a teenager when Ansar Allah and the Nation of Islam and the 5 percenters were around? You know, when y'all laughed at people with locks in their heads and their nose pierced, and they were telling you that we needed to, liberate ourselves and get our own land and start our own communities and separate from the American system altogether, their currency, and be sovereign. Where were all y'all when that was going on? To me, it seems like this new age pro-Blackness is simply pro-Black womanness. Like, you're a pro-Black woman and you want Black men in the community to be feminists, radical Black feminists, to a point where they negate their own life to protect you over perceived disrespect. As if these men's lives aren't valuable to them, to the people that love and cherish them, to the people that want them to come home safely. You want them to hold random man accountable and, okay, you said your inner circle. Here's a newsflash for you, ma'am. Most men who are decent don't have those type of men in their inner circle, despite if you want to believe that or not. But the problem is, y'all like bad men. This is the elephant in the room that y'all don't want to address. You're attracted to bad men, and you want decent, good men to make the bad men you're actually sexually attracted to good men so you can continue to be sexually attracted to those men. We ain't doing it. Change what you find sexually attractive and maybe you wouldn't have these problems. Are there swaths of men who may not take rejection well? Sure. But that's not the bulk of the issues that's going on in the black community. This is radical feminism. You want all the issues of the black community to actually be focused on women, when most of the issues in the black community have to do with black men and them being cut off from resources, them being cut off from opportunity. Y'all being feminists and turning your back on the black family structure. Y'all embracing thought culture and 304 culture and fans only sites where you twerking and bopping it up for money. Black people as a whole putting their values in money and capitalism, being individualistic, seeking solipsism to the point where nothing else matters but yourself. This is some of the problems in the black community. This nonsense, this notion that just because a man doesn't take rejection well, when by the way, a lot of y'all don't reject well. Yeah, we know y'all don't. You ooh, how dare he? You turn around to your girlfriends. I know he didn't think he was whatever to come and talk to me. Y'all act like y'all reject well. It's not just some men don't take rejection well. You don't reject well either. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about holding your sisters accountable when they do nuclear rejection on guys who are simply saying, hello, can I buy you a drink? No, the audacity. We see it, ma'am. It's all over social media. So cut the shit. Black women have their swaths of problems. Black men have their swaths of problems. There's no one better than the next in the black community. We all have issues. So stop acting as if black men are the only ones that should be accountable for the ills and woes of the black community when black women are there neck and neck, shoulder to shoulder with their dysfunction. That's all I got, man. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, get it cracking in the comments. I'll see y'all in the credits. 2 fingers. Peace. I'm out of here. Catch y'all in the next one.
Like Jesus.
You think that what we're fighting about is stupid. Just cause you don't agree don't mean it's stupid. Lately communication feels so useless. If we don't got that obsessive love, then what are we doing? I don't ask for much from you. It's like you don't got the time to lose. Made me feel like I'm a burden when I tell you how I'm hurting.